every time say that is the best scenario, is to get a mortgage.
You'll meet up with each other, and then some people don't even introduce them to their parents until like a year down the line.
Alcohol, root of all evil. As I've always said, I can't stand it.
Assalamu Alaikum and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well, inshallah. I'm back again with my mum.
Hi.
It's been a while. We're happy to have you back.
Oh, thank you.
So today we're back with another reaction video, and I thought it would be interesting to have a little look at a video called 10 Worst Haram Things in Islam. Now, do you know what haram means?
No.
Okay, so you know what halal means?
Yes.
So haram is the opposite of halal.
Oh.
So halal means permissible in Islam, and haram means impermissible.
Oh, right. Okay,
so for example, So for example, pork is haram in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking alcohol is haram.
Mm-hmm.
So
and so on. Yeah. Okie doke.
Let's begin, inshallah.
If you're not Muslim, you've probably heard the term haram. And the term haram refers to what is forbidden in the religion of Islam according to Islamic law. Here are 10 things that are considered haram in the religion of Islam. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and people from all backgrounds and faiths watch our videos. But these things in this episode that I'm going to share with you, you're definitely going to want to avoid them if you want to be a really good Muslim, or if you're just curious to know what Islam views as haram. Be sure to watch from 10 all the way to number 1 so you don't miss any of these. Well, let's just jump right in. Starting at number 10, we have mistreating your wife. So mistreating your spouse is one of the biggest sins, and it's considered haram in Islam. Now, the Prophet Muhammad, he taught people that they need to be very friendly and kind to their wives. According to Muslim belief, Prophet Muhammad even stated that you need to try to make your spouse your best friend. In a hadith narrated by Al-Tirmidhi, it says, the Prophet said, the best of you are those who are the best to their wives, and I am the best of you to my wives.
Are you shocked by the first one?
No, because that's what you would expect in any relationship, wouldn't you? Yeah, is to be as close as you can, and be friends and best friends, really, and love and cherish each other and help each other. Yeah.
But are you surprised that that would be considered haram in Islam?
No, do you see it being haram by
Like
bad to the?
Yeah, you're not allowed to be bad.
No, I would think that would be a forbidden thing in any religion.
I know quite a lot of people that don't really understand Islam, and they like to say, you know, like the Islamophobes that like to come out with things, and one of the things they might say is, they're wife beaters, they mistreat their women and things like that. I've heard quite a lot of people saying that before, but that's not the truth.
Oh right, saying about people. Oh
yeah,
wow.
Like Islamophobes on the outside will look in and say, oh, the women are mistreated, you know, they're beaten up by the husbands and things like that.
Oh gosh, no. Well, I'd ever heard anything like that.
When me and you went to the mosque in Bulgaria, and I was explaining to you why the women are at the back and things, as someone from the outside, it can maybe look like the women are mistreated, but as you now are understanding, the women are highly respected in Islam. Highly respected.
And I can really understand now why the reasons are for them praying separately and pointing a certain way. And
it's all just to protect the women.
Yeah, I'd never really thought about that too much, but I can see now why that is the way it is.
The next thing considered haram in Islam is tattoos. Now, there's a hadith that says this: may Allah curse the women who do tattoos and those from whom tattoos are done, those who pluck their eyebrows and those who file their teeth for the purpose of beautification and alter the creation of Allah. Specifically, that's found in Al-Bukhari Al-Libas, number 5587.
Well, I've always hated all of those things, and most of all tattoos. I can't stand to even see somebody with tattoos, and I mean men and women, to be quite honest, but women, it really breaks my heart to see, you know that, don't you?
Yeah.
I hate it. And I've seen the most beautiful of women. There was one girl who used to work with as a carer, and she was really beautiful, and she had a whole sleeve of tattoos, and just misguided, as I would say. So, you know, with the guidance of a good husband, you wouldn't want to think about having tattoos, you know. So.
I think so like the reasoning behind it being haram is you're born with like the perfect body, and then why would you go and alter that by permanently altering it, like by getting a tattoo that's permanent? And that's the reasoning behind it being haram. Also, like plucking eyebrows and things like that is not allowed as well for women. I think if you have like a big monobrow or something like that, then you can take it off, I think. But going and getting eyebrows like plucked and shaped and things, that's not allowed.
No, definitely. You're disfacing your own body, aren't you? And I've always, I mean, honest truth, I don't like looking in the mirror very, very much, but that's what I've been given, and all my body so far still works quite efficiently, and I just hate that thought of. And the other thing is the risk of infection as well by, you know, doing some of these acts, you know, and that's a big thing as well, isn't it? And why risk that? I am almost 60 and I've still got all of my own teeth. I am lucky. That's fortunate, really.
Yeah.
So why would you go and have them filed down to put false teeth on the top of what you've got? Mine aren't the best teeth in the world, but they're still working really well. I can eat well with them, and they don't give me any pain.
It became a really popular thing to do. You would go to Turkey and get turkey teeth, and many people do it. But I have seen a lot of horror stories where they've got major issues within the next 5-10 years, and they have to keep going back and getting them re-put in, and it's just endless amounts of trouble.
Charging interest is at number 8, and the term riba refers to interest, and this is something that is completely haram in Islam, largely due to the fact that it makes poor people even poorer. So like if you owe money and you're charged interest, in the end you end up poor because you end up spending more money than you actually owed. Now in the hadith from Abdullah ibn Hamzallah, this is what is recorded that the Prophet Muhammad had said. The Prophet said, a dirham or riba which a man receives knowingly is worse than committing adultery 36 times. And you know, debt payment is what kills a lot of people, because if you owe $20,000 with interest, you probably owe closer to $25,000, $30,000 in some cases. Next time I gotta pay off a car loan or something, I'm gonna tell them, listen man, you're charging interest on that? That's haram.
Personally, I've always tried to live between my means. So if you haven't got the money, try, you know, not to be tempted to you know, stuff like that.
But it's in a lot of things that you don't even think about. So even if you want to go and buy a house and you get a mortgage, then you're paying interest on it. Get a car on lease, you're paying a lot of interest on it. A small loan, a lot of interest. All these things are very high interest. I've spoken to you about that, haven't I? Saying how it's haram.
Yes, I've heard you say that before.
Because I was talking about maybe, inshallah, one day in the future, me and Hamza could buy a house together, but it's the fact that you would need such a big amount of money to be able to buy it straight away in cash.
I think sometimes it's slightly different with a house, because it's not that you're just paying slowly to become the owner of that house. So you're only the owner of that house once you've finished all the payments. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So the bank owns it. So in that way, and the banks are a lot more lenient than like getting going to like loan sharks and stuff like that. So something for a mortgage, I can see the benefit of maybe going for a house, because in the future that's going to become a lot cheaper for you. So then
but
you
each
won't
payment though every month is still got interest. It's never interest free. There's always interest on it. And I've actually heard of quite a few stories recently where there was this one man, he went for a mortgage, he bought this flat, and his monthly repayments were £300. Then before he knew it, they were up to 600, and then within a couple of years they were up to £900 a month, and he couldn't afford it.
I know.
And that was the interest just going up and up and up and up, and it was out of control. So that is the reason. So it's to protect you, protect the poorer person, because somebody who's poorer that can't afford that house shouldn't then go and buy it, because you could end up in a situation like that. Now there are countries that do Islamic banking, like Russia recently do Islamic banking, so there's no interest involved in things. So that's really, really good. There's been times in the past where I've taken out a loan and then further down the line I've ended in a lot of debt because of all the interest piling up on top of it. So it is a real sticky situation. So I think it's best just to not get involved with anything that's got any interest in it.
I'm a big fan of using a mortgage for a house because it's a long-term project. So, you know, the least you're going to get your mortgage for is probably about 20 years. So in the future, so what you've bought that house today, in 20 years, it would cover and more than the interest you have actually paid. So in a way, the bank is basically helping you become a homeowner. I would never say never. Maybe not have a mortgage, but one day maybe it might suit you. And
I think one day, inshallah, if I had enough money to outright buy a house, then I'd be in a different situation. But as it is right now, I would rather stay renting, because in Islam it's a sin to be paying any sort of interest. So each month that you have that payment, you're accumulating more and more sin. And we're here for such a short time that owning my own house, it's not really the be all and end all.
If you have children, you feel you've got something to leave behind to them, and that's how I feel, to be honest. So I would every time say that is the best scenario, is to get a mortgage, me personally. But I can see what you're meaning, and like you say, every month you wouldn't be fulfilling what you expected to do as a Muslim, would you? Because you'd be borrowing, you know.
It's even like there'll be loads of times I'll look at cars online and I think, oh, they're too much money, but oh, there's this one here and it's only however many hundred per month. And you look at the interest rate on it and I just think to myself, wow, like that is just not worth it, and just switch off the page, because the amount of sin that you would accumulate from doing that. You might have a flash car or whatever, but is it really worth it? When it comes to the day that you die and then you go through the day of judgment and you're asked, why would you do that? Why would you do all this sin for what? So you could have a nice car, a nice house. I would rather not have that.
Adultery and fornication coming at number 7. Now there's a passage in the Quran, Surah 17 verses 32, that says this: "And do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse, indeed it is ever an immorality and is evil as a way." So of course, having relations outside of your marriage, as well as having intimate relations not being married, that's haram.
I'm a big believer of that. You shouldn't be, you know, it is a bad sin, isn't it? A very, very bad sin. People looking for some short-time pleasure that's not real. And I know, but the latter part of that, you know, it should be basically, it shouldn't be sex before marriage, should it? And I'm sure that's the case in every religion.
I don't know if it is in every religion, but it is in Islam. I was actually at an Islamic event the other day, and it was really interesting to kind of hear more about it. And in Islam, the way that it works is, if I in the future have a daughter, inshallah, and she decides that she wants to get married, as soon as she's met that man, he has to then come to our house and he has to speak with Hamza, and Hamza has to decide whether he is marriage material and whether he thinks that he's a good enough person. And they can have a few meetings, but the parents are always involved, they're never just meeting by themselves. And then after you've met the families and everybody's happy, then you would go ahead with the marriage. I think it's actually a really lovely way, because your father is your protector until you then become married, and your husband is your protector. So your father needs to make sure that your husband is going to be the right person for you. And I think that it's a really nice way to come and meet the family and all them kind of things in the beginning, because in the West, the way that relationships kind of go is you'll meet up with each other, and then some people don't even introduce them to their parents until like a year down the line.
I know.
You get a lot of people cheating in their relationships, whether that's men or women. A lot of people cheat. I would say the percentage is really high. I'm not sure what the percentage would be.
Oh, dress. Do you want to say a word or two, dress?
I I think if you're with the right person, you wouldn't want to cheat anyway, but also having that fear of Allah and not wanting to sin. And yeah, you might be able to deceive your husband or your wife, but God sees everything.
I know.
God sees absolutely everything. So you couldn't get away with cheating anyway. So that's why I feel like in Islam, I have never felt so comfortable before.
I've learned so far with your religion is it's this and that's it, you know, and there's no like changing the borders, is there? Like saying, oh, that's okay because I'm not married and I haven't told them about, so, you know, and I'll start again. Everything is simple, isn't it? And that's how I like things to be honest. It's easier to understand, isn't it?
Drinking alcohol is another big haram thing in Islam, and it's found in the Quran, Surah 5, verses 90. There's a passage that says this: O you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, sacrifices on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan. So avoid it that you may also be successful.
Well, alcohol, root of all evil. As I've always said, I can't stand it. Honestly, I wouldn't be disappointed if the world was freed from it forevermore, because it causes so many problems. I don't drink myself. I choose never not to drink. I've tried it as a younger when I was younger, but I just occasionally. And but I just think it's the root of all evil, because it's just carried on from one thing to another, and it interferes with relationships, your judgment, it clouds your judgment. It's just wicked.
An example is of the World Cup that was in Qatar. A lot of countries around the world were, you know, really annoyed that there was going to be no alcohol, and they tried to play the whole World Cup down. But the World Cup will definitely go down in history for one of the best ever World Cups. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I can say that because I was there, and the atmosphere was just absolutely fantastic. Because there was no alcohol involved, everybody from all across the world was there. We were all having so much fun together. People were interested in other people's religions and cultures, and it was such a beautiful time. Everybody was getting on so well, and I feel like if alcohol had have been involved, it would have been a different story, and there'd have probably been a lot of fights and things like that. So I agree. I mean, of course I agree because I'm Muslim, but I believe that the world would be a much better place if there was no alcohol as well.
Definitely, you're right, it will go down in history. And because I didn't manage to go, but I listened to most of the games on the radio. Even then I would go home and see the highlights from them. I loved it, I absolutely so loved it as well. And it was great to see, because the thing we've all got in common with each other is we're all human beings. We're all the same. We're all the same. We're all human beings, and it is lovely to see everybody getting along. So boo-hoo to alcohol. It's dreadful.
Moving on to number 5, slaughtering animals the wrong way. This is also haram. So if a Muslim is slaughtering an animal without saying Allah's name, it'll be considered haram. A person should say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Also, this is what the Quran has to say in Surah 6 verses 121. Eat not, O believers, of that meat on which Allah's name has not been pronounced at the time of slaughtering of the animal, for it is fisq, which is a sin. Most of you, even if you're not Muslim, probably knew this already. Eating pork, that is haram. Even if you use Allah's name during the slaughtering of a pig, eating pork is still going to be haram. Surah 5 verses 3 says this: Prohibited to you are dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah. And those animals killed by strangling, or by a violent blow, or by a headlong fall, or by the goring of horns, and those from which a wild animal has eaten, except what you are able to slaughter slaughter before its death, and those which are sacrificed of stone altars. And prohibited is that you seek decision through divining arrows. That is grave disobedience. This day those who believe have despaired of defeating your religion. So fear them not, but fear me, the day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you, and have approved for you Islam as religion. But whoever is forced by severe hunger with no inclination to sin, then indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful. So yeah, very long passage that included the point that eating pork is haram in Islam.
I did know, obviously, a fair bit of all of that, yes, because you've explained it all to me, and you know.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it as well.
Mum's always been so good. So ever since I became Muslim, and even before actually for Hamza, you would always make the effort to go out and buy halal meat, and you would always cook with halal meat when you were cooking for him before I was Muslim, and now both of us. So you've always been like so respectful.
Yes, I have.
When the animals are actually slaughtered the halal way, I've seen a video. So what they'll do is I've seen like a sheep being slaughtered, and they put the ears over its eyes like that, and then they recite the Quran, and the sheep was like crazy running around before, and then it was just so calm. We believe that this is a much nicer way than stunning the animal like what they would do here in the UK.
It just seemed to taste nicer.
Also, there's a lot of videos we're going about where people would drive up to a field of cows, and if they were playing really loud music, the cows wouldn't even flinch, they wouldn't move. But when they played the Quran, and it was actually the surah about the cow, the whole field of cows would come running towards the car. And I've seen about 10 different people do this, and every single time the cows came running to them when they were playing the Quran.
It's quite meditated music, isn't it? I think it's, you know, the Quran.
Well, you wouldn't call it music, it'd be called a recitation.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. But yeah, you've said that before when we've reacted to videos and you've heard a Quran recitation, you've said, oh, that sounds so lovely. And it's really soothing. I mean, many people, Muslim or non-Muslim, really enjoy listening to it. And even if I'm cooking dinner, I like to play the Quran in the background. I just find it peaceful and soothing. And if I'm driving as well, I'll put it on, especially if I'm feeling stressed out in the car. It just calms me down straight away. Even for the animals as well, so like when they're being slaughtered, they like recite the Quran to them, and it kind of soothes the animals as well. And it was the same as when I got to dress my cat. He was absolutely freaking out. He'd been taken away from his mother and his sisters, and I played a Quran recitation for him, and he just completely calmed down. It was crazy. He was freaking out, running around the house and hiding underneath tables and things. And then as soon as he heard that, he just completely calmed down. His breathing just calmed down. So you know that pork is forbidden, it's haram. Do you know like the reasoning behind why?
Because it's seen as a dirty creature.
It eats its own feces.
It lives in it, moves about in dirt, and it's high.
But also, scientists have actually proven that it doesn't matter what temperature you cook pork at, you can never fully kill all the bacteria. It's full of bacteria, and it doesn't matter what heat, you can never fully kill all the bacteria. So it is actually really harmful to your body. I know in Christianity as well, it's forbidden to eat pork. It's in the Bible, but not many Christians abide by that. But it is there in the Bible. And I think maybe Judaism, I don't think you can eat pork as well, I think.
No, I don't think you can.
In number 3, we have suicide. In the Hadith, specifically Bukhari Janaiz 84, it says, "He who commits suicide by throttling shall keep on throttling himself in the hellfire forever. And he who commits suicide by stabbing himself shall keep on stabbing himself in the hellfire."
Well, another thing, I never thought this would be on the sin list, honestly. That shocked me. But I've always said, I've been a bit outspoken, haven't I, about suicide, and I say they're just selfish people that have done that. And I know over the years I've been judged about, well, you don't know what their situation was, but as I always think, like for me, I've got my family that depends on me, including yourself.
Yeah.
So how badly could I hurt you by taking my own life? And I just think that that must be really, really a bad thing to do to your own family, however bad the reason you might think it be, because you could, there's always help you could get, or some sort of comfort with your own family or your friends or whatever, than to take that outrageous step to actually kill yourself.
Everybody's born with an expiry date, and your day is already written that you're going to die. Before you're born, your day is written that you're going to die, and it's not for us to decide when we die. It's up to God. It's not up to us at all. I think it's interesting to say that however they kill themselves, they'll be doing that over and over and over in the hellfire. So if they were stabbing themselves, they'll be doing that over and over again in the hellfire. And I think that's interesting to hear.
I do, because I just think it's so. I mean, I've known people that have committed suicide. You know, I just can't understand what makes that the final thing they're going to do in their life. You know, to make that decision. I just feel it's selfish.
To be completely honest, before Islam, I could understand why people did it. Before I found religion, I could understand, because life gets too much and you feel like you're under so much pressure, and I always did understand why people would end up doing it. But since finding God, I don't, because I have so much peace now, and I know that whatever I'm going through is a test from God, and it's not going to last. It's going to be okay.
These things are sent to test us, and that's me that's not an actual avid religious person. The thing is, the next day might be great, something great, like just something simple that makes you smile and forget the bad thing the day before. I mean, we can't just be delightfully happy constantly. Life isn't like that.
I feel like anybody that's going through a hard time and considers suicide, I wish that they could just find God and find peace within God and know that everything will be okay in the end, and whatever they're going through is for such a short time. When you're at rock bottom like that, the only way is up, and the next day is a new day. So I wish that people didn't resort to that and didn't let things get on top of them. This life is so short anyway, and to cut it even shorter I think is a real shame, and it's a real shame on the family members that they leave behind, and then they have to deal with that.
Number 2, a very big haram thing, making statues and pictures, especially when it comes to prophets of Islam. Now in the hadith narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, this is what it says. Allah's messenger said, those who make these images will be punished on the day of resurrection, and it will be said to them, make alive what you have created.
I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you will never see a picture of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
There's not even a drawing to show what he may look like. And it's quite interesting because in other religions, in Christianity, like things like that, they have Jesus, peace be upon him, pictures of him everywhere. And nobody knows what he looked like. So they're just pictures that somebody imagines what he looked like. And they've got them all over the church, but we don't believe that this is right because nobody knows what they look like.
I know, I can understand, Listening to that, I didn't know that, but I can see how every religion is different. They have a different ideal on that kind of thing. But when you think about your own simple life, it's being modest about things as well. I can see into that question as well. I can see that modesty is a much nicer way than being flamboyant. Yeah, did you know that before you?
I knew that there's no image at all of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and that you weren't allowed to kind of create any kind of image. And it's the same with any of the prophets. You know, Jesus, peace be upon him, was one of our beloved prophets as well, and we would never create an image of him either.
You see, now that's gone too far, hasn't it now? Because the image, if you say Jesus to me, I see the image
that you see
of
in the
Jesus,
church,
because that's everybody.
But there's so many different images that you see, so many different images, and it's just somebody's picture that they've drawn or whatever it is, or a statue that they've made, and they're all so different.
So there's no image. Nobody has an image of Muhammad. No, nobody even tried to make an image. I never thought about that, but I'm just thinking about it now. Conversations. This is what is a good thing about these question and answers. You've got, like, it makes this talking point, doesn't it?
Like, you've been into a few mosques now, and in some of the mosques you will see on the wall, and there might be written Allah and Muhammad written on the walls, but you'll never see any pictures inside the mosque. You'll see beautiful designs
of right now with this question.
You'll see beautiful designs, especially on the dome. A lot of beautiful designs, never pictures. Especially the cathedrals we've been to in different places around Europe. They're very busy, aren't they?
Flamboyant and
really busy, full of statues and pictures and things like that. So it is very different in that aspect.
Yes.
And finally, most Muslims would agree on this, that shirk is the biggest haram thing in the religion of Islam. Shirk refers to associating partners with Allah, and this is the most serious thing. It's said that the Prophet Muhammad said these words, "Shall I not tell you of the most serious of the major sins?" We said, "Of course, O Messenger of Allah." He said, associating anything in worship with Allah. Also, there's a verse in the Quran, Surah 4, verses 48, and this is what it has to say. "Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with him, but he forgives what is less than that for him who he wills. And he who associates others with Allah has certainly fabricated a tremendous sin." So in the religion of Islam, only Allah can be seen or viewed or worshipped in the position of Allah. Nobody else or nothing else can be compared. And now you know 10 things that are haram in Islam if you didn't know before.
Explain that to me.
Okay, so
I think I understand it. But
in Turkey, you get the eye. It's like the blue eye.
Oh yeah.
That is seen as some sort of protector of the evil eye, and that could be considered shirk, where you look to this eye for protection from things when you should actually go to Allah for protection. Same in Morocco, they have this like a hand kind of a design, and that's supposed to kind of like look over you and keep you
like
safe.
That 90 that you gave.
That's like the design, and that is to kind of like look after you and things like that, and that can also be seen as shirk, where you're looking at protection from this. Also, another case would be going to Jesus, peace be upon him, as if he's God, where he's actually prophet of God, not God. So that is seen as shirk as well. So going to anything rather than Allah, anything that you go to for protection rather than God is shirk. That's a major sin.
I can understand that.
Like in Islam, we love all the prophets, every single one of them, and the last prophet was Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and we all love him and we try to follow in his footsteps and what he has shown us to be right and wrong. We try and follow that way of life, but we would never worship him. We would never, you understand, we would never worship him because he's a prophet. The only person we would worship is God, Allah.
Okay, I understand that. That was really, really good. I enjoyed that. It was I like these question and answers that make you think about something.
Do you think then that you learned something from today's video?
Yeah, I learned something from every video. Even if I say, oh, I've heard of that, or I knew a bit about that, I don't know all of anything. Does that make sense?
What do you think your favourite part of the video was?
Well, I think there's things I strongly agree with, aren't there? Like tattoos, alcohol, suicide. There's so many things. I really do.
Yeah.
And but the last one I hadn't heard of that, but now it makes sense because most countries have got something, haven't they, that they kind of, I mean, they're all different religions and everything else and backgrounds, but they've still got some other thing that probably isn't.
Like there's dream catchers and stuff like that, like all them kind of things that would be seen as shirk as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up, give me a comment, let me know what you think, and we will see you in the next video, inshallah.
Thank you. Bye.